Next, let me introduce the fourth speaker. Davi Ernest Pradipta from Toyohashi University of Technology will deliver the speech under the title of The Plastics Lie. The Plastics Lie. Davi Ernest Pradipta, please come up to the center of the stage.
Thank you to the Master of Ceremony, esteemed judges, honor organizers, and fellow audience. In 1942, just weeks after the attack on Pearl Harbor, a chemical economist named William Haynes made a stunning prediction. He wagered that a new obscure substance called plastic would have more effect on the life of their great-grandchildren than Hitler or Mussolini. In hindsight, he was severely underselling it. At that moment in time, plastic was just an excuse by petrochemical manufacturers to convert the byproducts of coal and petroleum into anything remotely useful to the military. Even in the post-war economic boom of the mid-1950s, society didn't find enough use for all the plastics they produce. So, what do? Well, if your product can't be the solution, be the problem. Their mission? Plasticize everything. It clearly worked out for them. Plastics are in everything now. It's in our blood, it's in our water, it's in our air, it's in our ocean. Surely none of these are any good, natural, or even necessary. Critics even rang the alarm as early as the 1970s. So, what do the petrochemical and bottling companies do in response? Shift the blame. They funded one of the most famous ad campaigns in history, The Crying Indian. It showed a Native American man weeping at the side of litter, delivering a simple, guilt-inducing message. People start pollution. People can't stop it. But here is the ultimate twisted irony of that message from the, let me check my notes real quick because I still cannot believe this. So the industry funded Keep America Beautiful. The man behind that ad isn't even Native American. He was an Italian actor from Louisiana. The messenger was a fake. And so was the message. We literally swallowed the poison, and we are trying to hold to a dear life, trying to sell a life. They, the petrochemical industry, sold us the poison, so they will know the first thing about the cure. Enter scene, plastic recycling. The marketing was simple. Don't dump it, don't burn it, just recycle it. But here's the thing about poison peddlers. They really aren't in the business of selling genuine medicine, are they? They left out one teensy tiny detail. It has never worked. It will never be possible to efficiently recycle plastics. The logistics, the math, the economics, they just are not there. Not when it's always cheaper to create new plastics or new trash than to try and resurrect old plastic. Not when that recycled plastics contains the very poison, like flame retardants, that we're trying to get rid of. Even if plastic recycling is safe, which it isn't, and even if plastic recycling can somehow be profitable, which also isn't, the problem comes from the top. Overproduction. Given the limited amount of uses one can get from recycled plastics, doing so only guarantees the creation of more waste. They know this. They're not good keepers of our earth by any stretch of the imagination. But I let them have this. They know one thing or two about hiding the problem from our very eyes. Recycling is their cloak, and hiding is their dagger. For decades, the dagger was pointed at China. But after they banned plastic waste imports in 2018, these producers went into a mad dash for a substitute. One of those substitutes was my homeland, Indonesia. For a country with more than 250 million people, we have less landfills than we do representatives, one for at least 600,000 citizens. 600,000. And that is the best case scenario for those plastic waste. The Citarum River, the world's most polluted river, is currently choking on a horrifying sludge of fecal matter and plastic waste, 5,000 times above the legal limit. And what about plastic waste they can't import to countries in the global south? Well, how do you like billowing contaminated white smoke? Because that is what we are doing right here in Japan. Just 2 kilometers from my university, I can look up that sky, that white sky, and see that white smoke contaminate our scared sky. It is truly horrifying. The industry politely calls it thermal recycling, but let's be honest, burning trash for a minuscule amount of electricity is not recycling. It is how two-thirds of our plastic waste is simply set on fire and hidden from sight. So, what do we do about this? Number one, don't drink the Kool-Aid. This is not our fault. This guilt is not yours to carry. It belongs to the corporation that produced and pushed plastic waste in the first place. Number two, demand accountability. Recycling is a distraction. The real solution is crippling overproduction at the source. We need laws that make them pay. We need to make sure that making this waste is a burden from them, not a profit. Number three, vote with your wallets. Don't think of recycling as an equal part of the chasing arrows. Think of it as the absolute last resort. Reduce, reuse, then and only then, if you must, recycle. And remember this advice. When in doubt, throw it out. Don't contaminate the system. Don't help them with their grief. Let's be clear. This is not our fault. We have been choked with poison in the air we breathe, in the water we drink, in the food we eat. For so long, they've told us to accept it, to ignore it, to live with it. They even blamed us for it. But I say no more to that. No more. We are done playing the game. We are done being the pawns in the profit-driven machine. Every bottle they push, every plastic they try to hand to us, it is not our fault. It is theirs. And it is time they pay. Time I reclaim our lands, our rivers, our oceans, our very lives. We're not powerless. We're not silent. We're not helpless. Every choice we make matters. Every voice raised matters. Every refusal to accept their ways matters. We're not victims. We're guardians. Protectors of what is still alive and stewards of what it can save. The next generation will judge us, not for the mess we inherited, but for the legacy we chose to leave behind. And let it not be a world choked with corporate plastic. Let it be a world where life thrives. The power is ours. The time is now, and we will not fail. Thank you.
Thank you, Davi Ernest Pradipta. Then we will have a question and answer session. Dr. Sasayama, please begin.
So thank you, Davi, for your very thought-provoking speech. Let me ask you a few questions. So in your speech, you emphasized that we, the consumers, don't necessarily have to feel guilty about the overwhelming amount of plastic waste, right? But there must be something we can do. What are some tangible things we can do today to address, the problem that you raised in your speech?
Thank you for the question. The biggest thing that we can do as a consumer is move the place where we spend our willpower. As consumers, we all have a limited amount of willpower. We cannot possibly be expected to care about every little social issue. In regards to plastics waste, what I would recommend is instead of spending that willpower on the post-purchase waste, that is, for example, worrying about which bin does this trash go to, or washing every bento box, you should still do that. But the main point is that you spend that willpower on the pre-purchase phase. Is that when you see something at the grocery store with an overly packaged fruit, for example, where every single banana has their own plastic packaging, skip that. If you see a bottled water, but you can drink from the tap, do that instead. That's how we as a consumer can handle it.
Okay, great, thank you. So from this April, Tokyo will actually begin collecting plastic products as recyclable plastic resources. And of course, they're calling it environmentally friendly. What is your take on their new initiative?
It is a very interesting initiative, and I really like the thrust of that movement. But I am also have a little bit of reservation given the history of Japan. Japan boasts that they have about an 80% recycling rate, but 2/3 of that is thermal recycling, as I mentioned earlier, where the plastics are simply set on fire for electricity. I don't think that necessarily counts as the sort of ideal recycling. I understand because Japan has the limitation of land space. We don't have space to build a lot of landfills in Japan. But I think that also brings us to the main point is that instead of worrying about how we could make recycling better, the better solution is to cripple overproduction as the source, as I mentioned earlier. So it is a good initiative, but I am more worried about what step comes before that.
Thank you. So let's talk about that then. In your opinion, who should lead the change and take proactive actions to stop overproduction of plastic?
I believe in the power of the snowball. It starts from the individual. So, for example, one person, me, not buying a bag of party Kit Kats because it has 20 different Kit Kats in 20 different packaging. Myself doing that alone, honestly, does not matter. Myself doing that alone does not matter. It moves up to the social. We encourage the friends we know, the parents and the family to also do that. And then it moves up to the regional, to the people around us, to the people that live in our situation. And then it moves to the national, where that loss can start to affect hundreds of millions of people, like in Japan, for example. And then it moves to the international stages through the UN. For example, in the UN, we are currently discussing the Global Plastics Treaty. Unfortunately, it has not been progressing in the way that I wanted to necessarily, but it is a good start. So that is how I would do that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sasayama. Then, Dr. Jacobson, please.
Thank you very much for your speech. I wanted to compliment you on a very nice, measured pace that gave your words a lot of authority and seriousness. I wanted to ask a little bit about your background. I assume you were in Indonesia in 2018.
Yes.
Did you notice a change with when you mentioned China then cut off imports, and then you said it shifted to the global south? Did you notice a change right away, say in 2019 or afterwards?
Yes. I lived in Bali before I moved to Japan. I lived in Bali for about 10 years. One day, I'm not exactly sure, but I think it was about mid-2019. I was walking off the streets of Kuta Beach, which is a very popular tourist destination in Bali. And I saw a piece of plastic that fell from a truck that was passing by me. And that truck, I saw the plastic coming down, and I picked it with my hand. And it's a label I don't know. It's not even in a script that I don't know. It's not even written in alphabet. And I thought, why is that here? It's not even English or, I don't know, Chinese, because I would still know if it's a Chinese letter. And I don't even know what that was. And then I moved to Japan. I spent 2 weeks because I came in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. I was in lockdown, so the only food I have was Family Mart from a hotel, the Hotel Family Mart. I worry every time about whether am I throwing my bins correctly, am I throwing the bento boxes correctly. And then after that lockdown, I moved to Tokyo. The streets were really clean. I was really surprised because the streets are really clean. People sort out their bins correctly. But then I noticed once I moved to Toyohashi about when the concept of thermal recycling really came to me the first time. I saw that white smoke coming from the recycling facility near my university, and I was really excited by that. That's the motivation. It's a three-step motivation.
Great. Thank you so much. My second question is somewhat similar to Dr. Sasayama's question, but I think it's really important, so I wanted to follow up. Our first and second speakers today had a similar theme of something going wrong with externalities. We produce something and it causes a negative impact. But you have sort of approached it differently. Your focus is on corporations, where theirs is on the individuals. Tell me a little bit more about where the balance lies, because could one argue all phases are important, individuals, companies, governments?
Yes, I especially appreciate the first speaker, which I feel talks in a lot of similar ways, a lot of similarity to the topic I bring today. Where we fundamentally diverge in our approach is that I feel because in the world of capitalism that we live in now, the really important levers of movement come from the corporations first, and then the government second, as the buffer between corporations and the population. If we let the corporations do as they please, in that they just do whatever they make to improve their bottom line the most, then there's going to be no protection for the shared environment we live in, the shared world we live in. The role in that is that from the power of us, from the people, we push the government to act as our representatives in the capitalism world, and then to be a counterforce necessarily against the corporations, to make sure that the plastic they use in their packaging, for example, is priced in through extended producer responsibility laws, as the first speaker also mentioned.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you, Dr. Jacobson. Again, thank you so much, Dr. Sasayama, Dr. Jacobson, and Davi Ernest Pradipta. Davi Ernest Pradipta, please return to your seat. Please give the judges a few minutes to mark their judging sheets.